Hi, it's Lauren. Welcome back to the Heffy Doodle YouTube channel. I was super excited for the latest release from Heffy Doodle and all of their beautiful sparkle mixes, so I'm going to be creating a shaker card today using the new Covesea sparkle mix. I'm also gathering some of my other essentials like my enamel dots, which I thought the blue and the white matched really well, and that is in Summer Holiday. I grabbed my Summer Holiday paper pack as well. I'm going to be using the It's Your Day dies and the Oceans of Love stamp set and my Imperial stitched rectangle dies. So we're going to start with our die cutting. I'm going to grab the largest of the stitched rectangles and I'm going to grab the darker blue from the Summer Holiday in the polka dotted pattern. I'm using my new little trimmer to trim my paper down and then some Heffy tape along with the largest stitched rectangle to create an A2 background. I'm also going to cut out the shadow of the It's Your Day die from the lighter blue polka dotted paper, and I'm going to trim that down using my little mini trimmer, and then I'm going to run this through my die cut machine. I'll hold it in place using some more Heffy Memo tape, and I also want to make sure my polka dots aren't too crooked so that way they will be in the same pattern as my background. And then I'll grab my little mini die cut machine and I will run that through to get my shadow for the sentiment. For the It's Your Day sentiment, the inner die, I'm going to use some white cardstock. I thought it would look really nice layered onto the light blue, which will in turn be layered onto the dark blue as my background. So I'm going to use my little trimmer again and repeat that same process of putting my die onto the paper, use some memo tape to hold it in place, and then I will run it through my little mini die cut machine. To glue my sentiment onto the shadow die cut, I'm going to grab my little Glubert and I'm going to add some wet glue after I've popped out this sentiment, making sure not to lose my little heart tittle for the above the eye. And I like to use wet glue when adhering my sentiments like this together, as it gives me a little bit of wiggle room to make sure that my sentiment is centered to the shadow die. So again, grabbing my little Glubert, and I'm going to add some adhesive behind each of the letters. Once that's done, I will place that onto the shadow die. And like I said, because it is wet glue, I have a couple extra seconds to kind of maneuver it in place and make sure that it is centered and even all around the sides of the letters. To glue my little heart above the eye, I'm going to grab a jewel picker, so something with kind of a sticky end to it, and I will pick up my little heart using that after I add some glue to where I'm going to place it onto my die cut. And this just gives me the ability to pick up something tiny like this little heart and place it onto the die cut and make sure it's as centered as possible. So now that we're done with our sentiment, I'm going to figure out which of my little ocean critters I want to include on the front of my shaker card. I kind of wanted to do more of a shark theme, so I'm grabbing the shark, and I will also grab the stingray, some of the seaweed and coral, and also the bubbles, as I thought this would be a cute little arrangement. So I'm going to kind of figure out how everything is going to fit so I know that I can stamp enough of each of my images. I'm going to do one of each and then 3 bubbles. And I'm going to be using some Spectrum Noir Illustrator markers to color these images. So I'm going to stamp them on my alcohol-friendly white cardstock from Heffy Doodle. And I will stamp it in a black ink that it is also alcohol marker friendly. So let me go ahead and stamp those real quick off camera. And then I will grab my markers and I'm just going to quickly kind of go through each of the colors. So I use my sequin mix, my little sparkle mix, to determine what colors I wanted to color everything. I decided to do kind of a pale green teal for my seaweed and coral. I wanted it all to look like seaweed, and that matches kind of the green sequins inside of this sparkle mix. Once I'm done coloring with the 3 different shades, I'm going to add a little bit of tiny dots and then use a white gel pen to add some highlights to the 2 images. For the shark and the stingray, I'm going to use the same color scheme, and I'm going to be using some blue tinted kind of dark gray color. I'm going to be using 4 different shades. I have a darker one that I just added some deep shading to, and then slowly going lighter and extending those shades out. So from the darkest to my second medium to my lightest medium, and then I'm going to use my lightest color and completely cover in the shark as well as its little belly that I left white from the darker colors. And then similar to how I colored in my seaweed, I'm just adding some little spots, a little peach cheek, and then the white gel pen to add some highlights. I also use my white gel pen to cover any times I accidentally go out of the lines a little bit. And like I said, I repeat that process for my stingray. Now for my bubbles, I'm going to grab 3 different colors, all pale, like a pale mint, a pale blue, and then a pale teal. And I'm going to just color in the bubbles, adding in just a little bit of each color around the bubble. So it looks like it's underwater, but has some kind of highlight to it with the different colors. Once I'm done coloring in all of my images, I'm going to go ahead and cut them out. There is a corresponding die cut for this stamp set, so you can use your dies and your little mini die cut machine to cut them out. So now that those are done and everything is prepared for the card, we're going to move on to creating our shaker. I have a couple pieces of packaging that I keep in my desk, and I'm trying to find one that will fit my A2 background. This one looks like it will fit, but it's a little large, so I'm going to grab my mini trimmer again and just trim it down. I'm going to be using 1/4 inch thick adhesive tape to seal my shaker together, so I didn't want to make sure that I have enough space to fold over the packaging behind my background. So I'm starting with 1 piece of tape on the bottom back of my A2 size die cut background pattern paper. I peeled off the release paper and I went ahead and folded up that bottom piece. Now there is some stickiness to that. Like I said, this is a piece of packaging, so I wanted to fold that up before anything got stuck to it. And I'm trimming off the corners so that way my background isn't too bulky when you fold over all 4 sides. So now that I have my background in place onto the plastic, I'm going to trim off the other 2 corners on the other side. Next, I'm going to put some of my double-sided adhesive onto the sides of my background. So repeating that process of adding the 1/4 inch tape, peeling off the release paper, and then folding over the packaging to enclose my shaker part. This is what I call an infinity shaker. I've seen some other people call it edge-to-edge shaker. So we're just creating a shaker that looks like it could go on like around the back of the paper. There is no frame for this type of shaker card. So now that I have the 3 sides enclosed, I poured some of my sparkle mix into my shaker, and I'm going to shake it and try to get all of my sequins and gems to be as flat as possible. And once I kind of have everything spaced out and nice and flat, I'll flip it over and I'm going to close up that 4th side. So adding some more adhesive to the background, peeling off the release paper, and then closing up that plastic by folding over the packaging. And now we have our shaker. I'm going to add this to a card base when I'm all done assembling my card. So I'm going to grab some 2-inch adhesive and I'm just going to apply that to the back side, and I will peel that off when I'm ready to adhere this shaker to my card base. I just wanted to use some full coverage sturdy adhesive to make sure my shaker will stay firmly in place onto the card base. So I'm flipping it over and admiring all the beautiful colors inside, and I'm going to now grab some foam adhesive and I'm going to place that behind my It's Your Day sentiment. So I'll fill that all up in the back so it's nice and sturdy, and I'm peeling off the release paper and I'm going to place that on the center of my card a little bit more towards the top so I have plenty of room for my shark next to that Y in my sentiment. I'm going to keep repeating this process of adding foam adhesive behind all of my pieces, and I'm going to start with my seaweed pieces. I'm going to add one to the R, and I'll add another one to the left of the D. Again, I'm using a 2-inch roll of foam adhesive, so I'm just trimming it down to fit behind all of my pieces. And I'm going to keep repeating this for, like I said, all of my die cut images. So once I'm done with my little seaweeds, I'm going to add my shark and my stingray. I think they turned out really cute, and I love that it's a blue gray, so they still really blend in nicely with the tones of this card. And once I'm done with my critters, I'm going to add my little bubbles. I have 3 of them, and I'm just going to add them like embellishments, just putting them around my images and my sentiment in spots that I think would be complementary to the image. And now I'm shaking it around. I'm really loving how it's turning out. So let's go ahead and add it to our card base. So I'm peeling off the release paper from those large pieces of double-sided adhesive and adding it to a top folding A2 card. And I was shaking it around, really happy with how it was turning out. And I realized when I was about to take some photos that I forgot to put in my white enamel dots. So I went ahead and recorded again, and I'm going to add 3 of those white enamel dots from the summer holiday collection. And I was going to do blue as well, but I thought there was a lot of blue, and just adding 3 little white ones really just added more pop to the scene. Here is a final look at our Infinity or Edge to Edge shaker card. I'm absolutely loving the brand new sparkle mixes from Heffy Doodle and how it just fits so nicely into the new and existing products. Make sure you find us on our social media, Facebook, Instagram, and more for more inspiration. Thanks for watching. Bye.